Intelligence is not what you think it is. In fact, most of what you've been told about smart people is wrong, and a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist named Daniel Kahneman spent decades proving it. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 things highly intelligent people refuse to do, things almost everyone else does without even noticing. And by the end of this video, you're going to see your own thinking in a completely different light. Number 4 on this list is one that's quietly sabotaging your best decisions right now, and you won't even realize it's happening until I show you. Let's get into it. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Intelligence was never about how much you know. It's about how you handle not knowing, how you handle being wrong, and how you handle the space between a feeling and a decision. Let's walk through all 5. 1. They never fake it. Watch what happens the next time you ask a group of people a question none of them can answer. Someone will always jump in with a half-formed guess dressed up as fact. Someone else will nod along like they understand, terrified of looking clueless. Somebody will change the subject entirely rather than sit in the discomfort of not knowing. This is what almost everyone does, because admitting I don't know feels to most people like losing a small invisible competition nobody else was even playing. Highly intelligent people do the opposite, and it's not humility for the sake of appearing humble, it's strategy. When they don't know something, they say it plainly. I don't know, let me find out. No hedging, no vague nodding, no confident-sounding nonsense to fill the silence, because they understand something most people never learn. Pretending to know something is far more dangerous than admitting you don't. A wrong guess spoken with confidence can cost a business, a relationship, a decision that matters. An honest I don't know costs nothing but a second of ego. This is what psychologists call intellectual humility, and it's paradoxical because the people most willing to say, I don't know, are usually the ones who end up knowing the most, not because they're naturally smarter, but because they're not spending energy defending a position they never should have taken in the first place. Every ounce of pride that isn't spent protecting an image gets reinvested into actually learning something. 2. They never fight to win. Think about the last time you saw someone argue just to argue, someone who couldn't let a comment go, who needed the last word, who turned a casual conversation into a battlefield because being right mattered more than being accurate. That's not intelligence, that's insecurity wearing intelligence as a costume. Truly intelligent people pick their battles with almost surgical precision. They don't waste energy trying to change a mind that's already closed. They don't correct every wrong statement they hear in a room, even when it would feel satisfying to. They ask themselves one simple question before engaging. Is this a conversation that leads somewhere, or is this just two egos colliding in the dark? If it's the second one, they walk away. Not because they're weak, but because they know exactly where their energy is worth spending and where it's being wasted. When they do engage, it's never to win, it's to understand. And that single distinction changes everything about how a conversation unfolds, because the moment you stop needing to win, you start actually listening to what the other person is saying instead of just waiting for your turn to respond. 3. They never assume they're right without checking. This one's uncomfortable, so stay with me. Most people form an opinion and then spend the rest of their time collecting evidence that agrees with them while quietly ignoring anything that doesn't. It happens so naturally that most people never even notice they're doing it. You believe something, and suddenly you start seeing proof of it everywhere, while the evidence against it slides right past you unnoticed. Highly intelligent people train themselves to do the opposite. Before they commit to a belief or decision, they deliberately ask, what would prove me wrong here? What am I not looking at because it's inconvenient or uncomfortable? They treat their own opinions the way a good scientist treats a hypothesis, not as a truth to defend, but as a guess to be tested. This single habit, actively hunting for the evidence that contradicts you instead of the evidence that flatters you, is one of the most reliable markers of sharp thinking there is. It's uncomfortable. It slows you down. It's also exactly why intelligent people are so rarely blindsided by things everyone else saw coming. 4. They never let comfort make their decisions. Here's the one I promised you. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, psychologist Daniel Mischel conducted the research that became famous as the marshmallow test. Children were placed in situations where they could receive a smaller reward immediately or wait for a larger reward later. The study became widely known as evidence for the power of delayed gratification, but there's an important part of the story that often gets left out. Later research showed that the relationship between early delay of gratification and later life outcomes is more complicated than the popular version suggests. Factors such as socioeconomic background, environment, and a child's circumstances also matter. So the lesson isn't that intelligent people can magically resist marshmallows. The more useful lesson is about self-regulation. Every day, adults face their own version of the marshmallow. You can spend the money now or save it. You can scroll for another hour or finish what matters. You can send the angry message or wait until you're calm. You can choose what's comfortable now or what serves you later. The problem is that comfort is very persuasive. In the moment, the easiest choice often feels like the most reasonable choice available to you. Highly intelligent people do something different. They treat comfort as a signal to slow down, not a reason to act. They ask, is this actually the right decision, or is this just the easiest one available to me right now? That single pause, choosing what's right over what's easy, is often the entire difference between people who grow and people who stay exactly where they are, year after year, wondering why nothing changes. 5. They never multitask on what matters. Most people wear multitasking as a badge of honor. 5 tabs open, phone buzzing on the desk, 3 conversations happening at once, convinced this is what productivity looks like. It feels efficient in the moment. It feels like more is getting done. Intelligent people know this is an illusion. They understand that attention is not an unlimited resource you can slice into pieces without losing anything. Every time you switch from one task to another, you don't just lose the seconds it takes to switch, you lose depth, quality, and the kind of focus that actually produces good work. So when something actually matters, intelligent people give it one thing at a time. Full attention, phone away, one task on the table, no split screen, no half presence. They'd rather spend 40 minutes of complete, undivided focus than 3 hours of scattered effort that never quite lands anywhere. When you put these 5 together, a pattern emerges that has nothing to do with test scores or degrees. It's about how someone handles not knowing, handles conflict, handles their own certainty, handles comfort, and handles their own attention. None of it is loud. None of it announces itself. It just quietly separates the people who grow from the people who stay exactly the same year after year, wondering why nothing changes. So here's the real question. Out of these 5, which one do you catch yourself doing the most? Tell me in the comments, because that conversation is exactly how the rest of us get a little sharper too. And if this made you curious about what's actually happening inside the minds of the most intelligent people on Earth, I made an entire video breaking down the psychology of people with extremely high IQ, how they actually think differently, not just what they do differently. It's linked right here. Go watch it next. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, because there's a lot more to uncover about how your mind works.